Hey, welcome back to another Rocket Refuel. I'm joined by Texas Rocket Nate and Dan Rocketman Savage. We did a little bit of an audible this week. Rocket Ryan is a little under the weather, and PJ Spiller went on and rooted the Tigers on tonight. So we can't really blame him for that. That's an awesome game to attend, even though they lost. I'm sure Dan has a little bit of opinion on the game tonight as well. But yeah, we're just gonna dive into Buffalo this week and recap last week's game against Miami of Ohio. So just gonna turn it over to Dan here.
Yeah. Coming into this year, man, we knew that this Miami game was going to be huge. Open up MAC play, homecoming. We got everything that we bargained for. A big revenge game, 25,000 fans on a 72-degree day in October. You really can't beat it. It was an awesome environment. And honestly, I think we left some points on the board. Toledo was up 14-3, 14-0, and then, we had a interception in the red zone where Gleason got tipped from behind, and the game could have been way worse. Let's just say that. But that's what this Toledo team does. We're not perfect, and we're still winning semi comfortably. So I'm glad with the outcome. Actually, I had some family in town from Phoenix, and
Oh,
my cousin he played at Arizona State, and he was like, "Man, this place is cool. This is a big time environment." They ended up going out. They went to the Bengals game this weekend. They went to Cedar Point. They did the whole Ohio thing. But it was cool to have some family in town. We were flying the Tigers flag at the tailgate. Just an all around perfect day for us. Um, the sad thing is now we're 3 games down on the home schedule. We only have 3 left. So we're going to have to make them count.
it's a great point, Dan. I love the Tigers rep. That's from going from the trade deadline with a 0.2% chance to make playoffs to just witnessing this historical run is awesome as a fan.
No, it's remarkable. And today, I mean, I'm wearing the Red Wings hat too because they're playing right now. 2 hours ago, I was like, I'm really gonna rep the Tigers because we're playing a team from New York in football. First, the Rockets were playing Buffalo, and maybe I don't know if they're Blue Jays fans or if they're Yankees fans, but I was hyped up to be like, all right, let's go. We got New York on deck, but not so fast for the Tigers. We got one more against the Guardians to see if we can advance, but still exciting time for all sports. Not used to this as a Tigers fan, at least lately.
Didn't think it with this roster, to be honest.
Not at all. Not at all. Um, but yeah, homecoming environment was freaking awesome. Uh, I think actually Miami traveled a great crowd too. They might be Toledo folk. We had probably 15 kids in my high school graduating class that went to Miami. So if they had 750 fans, I don't think they all traveled from Oxford. But the next home game against Bowling Green, we're going to expect a lot more visiting fans, and that'll put us to a sellout right away just by having BG in the building. So um, we got to win by 10 points. That's all I can ask for at this point. We beat the MAC champs from last year. I'm just ready to move on, and we got a big one this week.
Yeah, we do. I think Buffalo's a pretty good team this year and not a team to take lightly.
Not at all. I don't really know how much we want to go into this game. Toledo kind of controlled it from the beginning against Miami. I don't think Blaine Gabbert's having the year that Miami fans thought he would have. Their defense stood up pretty tough. Actually, Miami kind of made a run of it at the end, but Braden Knowles had an interception to seal the deal. We won by 10 points. Do you guys really have anything else to say besides straight to our players of the game?
Not really, to be honest.
Yeah, no, not too much. Just keep winning. Just doesn't matter how much you win by. Just get that W on the column. So
For sure. I do have one thing I want to mention about the game. On our first drive, we got to 4th down and 1 at the goal line. And we handed off the ball, and Tucker Gleason fumbled it, but then he picked it up and scored. And the refs on TV, or the announcers on TV, said that a quarterback cannot advance a fumble unless it's on 4th down. So the only reason we scored, if that play was on third down, Tucker, the ball would have been dead after the handoff fumble. We couldn't advance it. I don't know if the announcers got that wrong. It sounded strange to me.
I couldn't tell you either way if that is correct or not. I haven't
Okay.
heard of that, to be honest. I just thought it's a live ball. You see offensive linemen do it all the time.
Right. So yeah, I don't. It's like we handed it to. I think it was. I don't know if it was Stewart or Wallensack, but the ball just basically it never even hit the ground. It like went off our O lineman's butt, and Tucker just picked it off his legs and then ran right in for an
Honestly,
easy
the,
score.
the the first half, especially, there's a few sloppy handoffs that didn't seem as
Mhm.
crisp as we've been seeing the rest of the season, which was a little concerning. Because just knowing how Miami's record does not result in how good that team could actually be. You got to play crisp.
Yeah, I thought our O line did actually a pretty good job. A lot of the plays that went backwards were like an end around to Jaquez where he thought he was blocking. We tried to hand it off, had to jump on it. That type of deal. But I was impressed with the O line this week
I think
compared
I
to
I
Western
think
Kentucky.
I think the receivers did a great job too of adjusting routes
Mhm.
and making sure they're open in the pockets they needed to be. And everybody really had a great contributing game. If you look at the stat sheet,
Is Shaw hurt?
That's what I'm thinking too. He got no carries.
Yeah, no carries, no receptions out of the backfield or anything. Just blank. I was like, oh, I wonder if he's not healthy.
We had I think there was a little bit of COVID going through the building after the trip to Bowling Green, Kentucky. So maybe that's it.
Okay.
Another glaring discrepancy on the stat sheet is Torres, 2 catches, 0 yards, and a touchdown. He had a little negative yarder, and then like the next play, we went to him the other side, and he scored from the 1 yard line. But it's kind of funny.
the touchdown's what I care about.
I know. I understand that we're not using him as much as some fans would want because he's an elite guy over the middle if you need him. But then again, like last year against Bowling Green, we kind of waited till the end of the year to see him break out. Maybe we're just saving him. It's like until we're down by 28-10 or whatever Bowling Green was up on us last year, we didn't seem to use him that much. So maybe we're saving him. I don't know.
I mean, over the years though, Toledo's been a little inconsistent on targeting the tight end. It seems like a big game will happen and then maybe a few quieter games. So I don't think it's out of the norm.
For sure. One thing that is not normal for Toledo is like 70 whatever rushing yards we had.
Yeah.
But we also held them to like 50 some rushing yards. So 10th in the nation in defensive play against rushing. So that's pretty great. Just
I mean,
offensively, we got to figure it out.
watching Gab, I mean, with them getting down to Miami of Ohio, I think you're spot on with the fact that Gabbert's going to take shots downfield, and he did. And I think our secondary did a good job of, you know, staying on their guys, and he definitely overthrew quite a bit. There's some pressure in his face too, but he took those shots. That's for sure.
Yeah, luckily they were out of reach and they couldn't make the full comeback happen. Um, but all right, I guess I'm ready for player of the game. I'll start offensively and then we can go around. I have Jawan Newton. I think he had like 7 or 8 receptions, 127 yards, and a touchdown. That was his biggest yardage output of the year. I mean, Vandeross has led quite a few games as far as yards go, but Jawan Newton made himself known this game. And whether it was slashing through the middle or catching a little screen and then making some yards out of it, I thought he was tremendous this week, and that's what you expect out of a 6-year captain.
I mean, I'm going to go along with you, Dan. It's pretty glaring that Newton had just a stellar day, but I do want to give a shout out to all the receivers. Like I said before, they were just all great targets throughout the game, and yeah, especially Dotton with his size. They threw it up a couple of times. He made some good catches, and it's nice to see him getting a few touches.
For sure.
I'm gonna stick with my boy Tucker Gleason. 3 TDs overall, 2 passing. Did have the 2 picks. One of them I want to say was entirely his fault. So um, I'll stick with Gleason. He's been my boy all year. Again, I think he's gonna really determine how the season goes. So I'm gonna give him the offensive player of the game.
And with Gleason, as far as like all MAC, before the season we kind of talk about our preseason predictions. He's got 13 touchdowns and 4 picks. There's no one in the MAC that's even close to having that type of like QBR or margins from touchdowns to interceptions. I mean, I think Northern Illinois guys maybe second, Hampton, and he has 8 touchdowns and 4 picks. So he's running away with at least first team quarterback right now. Got to keep him healthy. Got to keep holding on to the ball. But so far, Tucker Gleason's been all that he was hyped up to be.
Agreed.
On defense, player of the game, I'm going with the unsung hero. Thank you, Pro Football Focus, college football, for this one. He graded out higher than Darius Alexander. I'm going DeAndre Rajan. He had 1 tackle, but his havoc rate, his blow up the play rate was unbelievable, and him and Darius just clogged up the middle. They couldn't do anything rushing the ball. They averaged like 2 yards a carry or whatever. I'm going with the unsung hero in the middle. That's what we're going to have to do against Buffalo. He's kind of been unsung all season. Got to give him his props.
I'm going to go with the low hanging fruit. We're going to go Darius Alexander, but I do want to give a shout out Maxon Hook, 9 tackles, 4 solo, 2 passes defended. And then Brandon Alls with the interception, also 5 tackles, 4 solos. So, I mean, a lot of our DBs were around the field getting some solid tackles, which is good to see.
I'm gonna stick with you, Kyle. I'm going Darius Alexander. Give it to him. 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, just and a pass deflection. So I'll
He
stick
did, yeah. He got that paw up and had a nice little block. He Reese's Senior Bowl Player of the Week in the nation. So perfect.
Toledo being a household name like usual. No big deal.
For you, nothing's changing here. Okay, so we can look around the country a little bit here now. We get Miami out of the way. Want to know in the MAC. What did you guys think about college football this weekend? We had quite a few upsets. Vanderbilt?
So yeah, I'll mention a little bit on that. Nate and I attended the Texas A&M upset when they played Alabama at home, and we were actually in the end zone of the game-winning field goal that A&M kicked, and rushed the field and everything. Amazing experience. I would say Vandy's win over Bama equally as impressive, and
maybe even a little bit more.
We were saying the whole trip home, like, I don't think we're ever going to witness a game in person like that, and it'll be hard to see a game at that caliber. And you guys saw it on Saturday.
There was a bunch. I mean, even the same team that you just mentioned, A&M, just blasted Missouri.
I was very surprised by that. I thought they would keep it close, but that was insane.
For sure. Michigan went down. I mean, it was just a chaotic week. And there's a little bit of a nod here to the naysayers on our X page, or at least the naysayers to me. Good teams lose. Good teams lose. It's so hard to go undefeated. That's just college football. That's why we love it. So, gotta love it, man. Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of naysayers on X there, Dan, or just fighting the good fight?
Yeah, they said we needed a new O-line coach 2 weeks ago, and now they shut up. It's crazy how that happens. They only chirp when we're losing, and they're quiet most weeks out of the regular season because we win a lot. So,
speaking of coaches, huge shout out for Candle with that extension, and it seems like things were structured to get some more money coming in for the other coaching staff. Keep this program going.
Yeah, he improved the buyout too. I mean, UT improved their buyout, so if he gets taken, Toledo gets more money. So I think if he got taken after the end of this year, UT would get like $2.5 million or something, which just goes into the next coaching carousel that we have to deal with. We don't want that. I don't think any jobs have opened yet or I don't foresee opening that he would really jump on, especially if he got his $2 million assistant pool.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's great.
I don't see him signing an extension like this and planning to leave this season. We'll see going forward, but I think we got him locked in for a little while, which is great news.
Yeah, I hope Shiano stays at Rutgers and Maryland doesn't keep losing because those are two jobs I could see being maybe low hanging fruit for a coach like Jason Candle and a salary that might sweep him over to the East Coast. So we'll see what happens there. Around the MAC, Toledo's 1-0. Bowling Green really struggled with Akron.
That was surprising.
It was. I think no. I mean, besides their FCS game, they've played every team within a touchdown either way.
Yeah.
So they're just going to play up or down. Just note to future self when we predict that game, the game's going to be a one-score game. Like regardless. Northern Illinois was down to UMass at halftime. I mean, we could kind of see how that happened. They ended up pulling away and winning by, I think, 16, but the Northern's beatable. Kent State put up like 35 points on Eastern Michigan, which is wild. Like, Eastern hasn't played the toughest schedule in the world, but they're 4-1 and they're 1-0 in the MAC. So it still looks pretty wide open beneath what I think is maybe us in Northern Illinois at the top of the league as far as like talent goes. Do you guys have any other reads on that?
I'd say, yeah. At this point, you kind of need Eastern to keep winning until we play them, just to kind of get that boost. But yeah, I'd say it's pretty wide open right now. I thought Bowling Green, just the way they played against some of those bigger schools this year, I really thought, they would go out and until we got to us pretty much dominate. But I don't know. We'll see. That kind of surprised me that last week, but can't always go out and play your best ball. So I get it. So
I still think it's too early to tell.
It really is. It's so tough finding like your little margins here to try to make a prediction for the next week. But we get Eastern Michigan hosting Miami this week. So Miami's gauntlet doesn't end. And then Northern Illinois goes to Bowling Green. So we're going to be able to find out, at least parcel it a little bit, where Toledo stands, especially by playing a 1-0 Buffalo, who already knocked off Northern Illinois on the road.
I think this weekend will tell a lot about Toledo as well. We got a few games out to kind of see where these teams are positioned in the conference.
Yeah. Well, we're officially into week 7. Before we get there,
it's going by too quick. Too quick.
It just, I remember working on a job. It feels like 10 days ago and just craving for the season to come. Like watching the week 0 games and now we're already halfway there. It's insane. But as you see behind me, watch party, Buffalo at noon, Whiskey Red Saloon downtown. Come in, get your rocket shot. They're now selling Coney dogs. So they taste like a Rudy's dog. They're really freaking good.
Okay.
Chips and salsa is delicious. Their sandwiches are great. But they also have beer specials. I think it's like $2 Bud Lights during happy hour on Saturday, and that happens to be when we play. So come in, grab some beers, and get yourself a rocket shot, and shout out Whiskey Red Saloon. Thanks for the sponsorship.
I also want to give a shout out to our Canadian friends up north, some Toledo super fans that made it down for the homecoming game, and they trek it down for every home game, which is awesome. But I just missed them at the tailgate. We brought the little man for the homecoming parade and hung out the tailgate for a while, and then we had to get him back for a nap. But shout out to Andrew and Steve. I heard you had a gas can of rocket fuel passing out to people and got the crowd going. So, come back on the tailgate. Love to meet you guys.
So you said, I mean, you told us in a text, they became Rocket fans based on the video game.
I believe I don't know if some of them are alumni though, or what the deal is,
okay.
But I think a few of them might be.
If that's true, that's insane. Like what a video game, even if it was the 2014 game getting ready for the new video game release. I mean, that's super impressive that they would be like, okay, we're choosing this team. We live over the border in Canada. Let's just dive in, find a podcast, and root on this team.
It sounds like they've been super fans for about 11 years, so it's probably the older NCAA if that's the case. But what a story if that's true. picking Toledo.
And then, yeah, showing up to Whiskey Red to have a drink. That's cool. Glad we can make a difference. Also, thanks for anybody that donated to the relief fund for Hurricane Helene. Sadly, another hurricane rolled through Tampa.
And
And
possible third one on the same path as Helene.
and we, I mean, as
Hurricane
far as like,
Nadine at this point.
yeah, and we have a lot of Florida players on this team. I mean, it's Vandeross, it's Jerwan, it's Gleason, it's I mean, our coach Wieners was coach at Tampa Plant High School. Like
Another big name, Quinyon Mitchell.
Quinyon, St. Petersburg, right? Like that is just insane. Hopefully everybody's doing all right down there. Another reason if you're a recruit from Florida, get up north and get out of there. And come play for the Rockets because man, it's the shit's warming up. It's tough. It's tough. And like we've got a game this weekend between USF and Memphis that they moved from Friday to Saturday. I'm not sure if the airports are even open to even have a Saturday game. So
I'm sure they're making other accommodations.
yeah, it's just a wild time right now. And hopefully everybody's staying safe. And if they donated, thank you very much. Hopefully we don't have to do that too many other times this year with a GoFundMe to help out families in need. All right. So we got the UB Bowls coming up. And I sent it in our group message here. Pete Lembo, we talked about this preseason. Pete Lembo, old Ball State head coach. He knows how to beat the Rockets. He went for 18 minutes on our personnel and our schemes in his press conference on Monday. And the first 4 minutes were about a hawk landing on his patio in his office and a hawk tearing another white bird to shreds and him watching him eat lunch. It was totally a crazy, crazy interview. But the amount of detail and attention to Toledo that they've given us through a bye week is very scary for a Toledo fan, especially when Jason Candle doesn't really give us much in our weekly pressers. So I am expecting a very, very tough game this week. What do you guys know about Buffalo? Do you know much? Like I said, they beat Northern Illinois. That's a big one.
Yeah, I mean,
I haven't watched. I'll go ahead, Nate.
No, go ahead.
So I haven't watched them much this season, but Nate and I did go to a Buffalo game a few years ago. Randomly met Donovan McNabb. His daughter was there being recruited for basketball. But it's a nice stadium. It's a nice campus.
So my only knock on their stadium is I hate the track. Yeah, it's disgusting. Just get rid of it. Get rid of the track in our field. But I don't know, from this season, I mean, it's just kind of been kind of up and down. I mean, you look at the common opponent, UMass, they held them to 3 points and put up a lot of points against them. So you could say they put them better than we did. And then you go and get absolutely tromped by UConn. So I don't know. I don't know really what to expect out of that team. I feel like you're either going to get a team that's going to come out hungry, ready to pounce on Toledo quick, or you're going to get a team like last week where they get blown out by UConn. So I really don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Right. Yeah. They go and beat Northern. They get, shut out 38-0. Missouri scores with like 30 seconds left to cover that game, which was rough if you bet on Buffalo to cover the Missouri game. And then they go and just get absolutely demolished by the Northeast rival UConn. But I kind of think if they can be stopped running the ball, you can force that quarterback to pass and he's going to struggle. And what do we do well? We stop the run. I'm not too worried about Buffalo scoring a ton on us. But 2021 or 2022, we went there and we had 6 turnovers. And that guy that had 2 or 3 interceptions for them, Sean Dolak, transferred to Utah State last year, and he came back to Buffalo this year. He's leading the nation in tackles. They have another guy in the top 10 in the nation in tackles. They've got two defensive players that you don't want to put the ball anywhere near them, and they're going to make a play. And regardless if their offense does anything, they beat Northern Illinois 23-20 with 174 yards of offense. Do you turn the ball over against Buffalo, they're going to beat you. That's just flat out how it goes. Even more than the Western Kentucky game, which bared to be true. Turn the ball over, you're going to lose. Buffalo's not scared of us. They did it on the road. And if they're watching film of what we did against UMass, which I'm not sure we showed too much anyways, they think that they can hang with us. Their head coach knows that they can hang with us. So this is a scary game. Not something that I predicted at the beginning of the season at all. I thought this was our, worst game on the schedule. I thought that Buffalo would be down with Kent State at the bottom of the league. They're not. They beat us. They are on a fast track to Detroit. So we know who we have on deck after Northern, Bowling Green, and Eastern Michigan. This has to get it started right. 6-hour bus drive. Just show what you're made of here.
I think Miami of Ohio got it started right, really. And they're just going with the same game plan on offense. Foot on the gas. You got plenty of weapons. You can pass around the two studs on their defense and, make some things happen. Don't be afraid to throw it out there and do what we do best, score and score in bunches.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's key. Don't let the foot off the gas. Just keep going. Don't get if you get up an early lead, don't let up at all. Just keep because I still have nightmares from what year was that? Was it 2022 when we were up and they came back? Oh God,
Yep.
Watching that game, I was saying some not nice words on my TV, and that game still kind of haunts me. So I can't have that again. But yeah, get that lead early and just don't let up.
And in 2019, the last time we were there before that, they beat us too. They've won 2 in a row at home against us at Alumni. They don't care about their past anymore. They're ready to move on, hit new heights. So it's gonna be a fun game. You guys have any keys to the game besides don't turn it over? Because that's kind of all it boils down to me. Our special teams unit has been fantastic all season. Obviously, you got to keep that up, keep the punt returns going. But this is a very simple game to me. They are not going to move the ball much on us offensively. Even their quarterback, Cole Snyder, is now at Eastern Michigan. So they don't have a guy has too much seniority leading their offense. It just kind of seems like a basic game plan. I could see why Candle didn't go through 20 minutes on them like Lembo did on us, but any other keys to the game?
Yeah, I'm not convinced that if a coach doesn't say much, doesn't mean they're not doing their homework. I mean,
right.
But yeah, the one thing that I noticed this year that a lot of teams are surprised by is Stewart out of the backfield catching passes. And it seems like, he's usually a forgotten piece, in the defense, with the mismatch with linebackers. But if the check down is there, then, just go for it. Take what the defense is going to give you and keep moving the ball.
Right. I don't think we need to get too cute. And I think we always have Torres as a backup plan. And I think that Jaquez has kind of seen his limit as far as trying to run end arounds and stuff. Like we almost had a couple fumbles this week trying to do that. We're getting a little bit too cute with it. I know if Willie Shaw is healthy, obviously I want him to play. But I think with just Clark and Wallensack in the backfield, I think that's good enough to get our 2-3 yards of play that we need to set up our pass game. And this year, that's kind of how our offense is being run. We don't have Penny Boone back there. And because we don't have Penny Boone, that doesn't set up much for Jaquez in the backfield with our really young offensive line. So it's just kind of a different thing we're going to have to used to seeing. But still, offensive point totals have been up, honestly. We're in the top 35 in the country in scoring offense. We're in the top 35 in the country, or maybe 40 in the country scoring defense. And then special teams is helping us achieve that with good field position and, also turnover margin, which we're in the top 20 in the country. So, it's a big game, but I think that everything is in place where if we're just calm and keep it collected, I like our shot this weekend. Do you guys have score predictions?
I'll lead it off. I'll go 31-17 Toledo.
I was close to Nate. I was 28-17 Toledo.
Okay, so we're favored by 9.5. So just inside 10. You guys both have us covering barely. I'm going 24-23. I know that I don't want to turn the ball over. I think that those two dudes on defense are for real for them. I think it doesn't matter. I mean, obviously teams are game planning to go away from them, and what do they still do? They still turn you over. They still find ways to clog up the middle and make the game weird. I don't see our defense giving up more than like 220 total yards. And I think this game's going to be close. I'm going 24-23 Rockets. We escape and get to head out to DeKalb another 5 hours the other direction from Toledo next week before we have our big game against Bowling Green the following week. So,
like we were discussing earlier, there's a few games on the MAC that may show where some teams are at. A score like that definitely doesn't help how we think Toledo's going to go on this next stretch.
I kind of think 1 through 9 or maybe 3 through 9 are all basically the same team with different skilled players at different, it's kind of just crazy. There's not too much difference. Now, if we go out and we win this game by 17 points, I think we can separate ourselves a little bit from the rest of the pack. But this game is just not a spot I like too much. Luckily, Buffalo has beaten Northern, so our guys are on notice. If they had lost to Northern Illinois, this is a game I think we just goes right over our head and we just go and lose like we did in 2022.
I'm sticking with my preseason. Obviously week to week we'll see how Toledo's performing, but I had 11-1 with a loss to Western. I'm still on that train.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it for me. You guys have anything else to say coming up into our big away week, our big pick apples week? We get an away game, so if you're home and it's kind of just like a fun weekend. A lot of big games this weekend too. Oregon, Ohio State.
Just sit back and enjoy the weekend. Just enjoy and appreciate all the games. Watch as many as you can. So.
Yeah, head down and hang out with Dan at least. Maybe PJ Spiller will go down to Whiskey Red. Get a rocket shot. I've heard they're delicious. I got to go down and try one myself. But just hit down for the noon game, head back, and enjoy some good college football.
Tigers Guardians too, Saturday. So it's going to be a busy day.
Schoolboy with ice in his veins. I believe in him.
Me too. Me too.
All right, guys. Well, another solid rocket refuel, and I feel refueled for Buffalo this weekend. And I think we're predicting a Rockets win across the board here. I'm going to speak for Rocket Ryan and PJ, but we should be back next week with a full episode with the full crew, and get ready for the gauntlet that is the MAC. I'm Kyle W, Nate the Texas Rocket Kresge, and Dan Rocketman Savage. Appreciate you joining in. We'll catch you next time.